So I'd moved up to Huddersfield and was looking for a new project. I looked at all sorts, to be honest, and never thought I would buy a modern house. I'd always chosen to live in Victorian or Edwardian by choice. But I went and saw this house because it just intrigued me. The photos on the estate agent's page look amazing, but the whole thing looked a bit sad. I drove past and had a nosy, as you do, but the house is 100 yards from the road, so it didn't really help. I had to go for a viewing. Actually, I ended up going for 4. It was an interesting experience meeting the owners. The couple, who'd had it for something like 10 years, were clearly in trouble. She told me she'd lost her job and was volunteering at a shelter, and I think he'd lost his as well. They were going to move back up north to family. They clearly loved the house, and they had tried to renovate. Several of the rooms had projects started, but nothing was finished. They'd also tried to furnish it 1960s style, which you can see in the photos, but some of it was crazy, like no wardrobes in the master bedroom, and 1950s light fittings that screamed at the 1960s Formica table and chairs. The whole house was just wrong, and it seriously needed updating. In construction terms, the house was upside down. The bedrooms were downstairs, the living space was upstairs. It's built into a steep hill, so the ground floor was sideways, and it was built of engineering bricks, with the top floor made of timber perched on top. It still had the original 1960s metal windows. The floor was cork tile, which I later found out was laid on 1/2-inch thick chipboard. It had the biggest boiler I've ever seen in a residential house, and the heating was hot air convection with those floor grills that were popular in the 60s. That went out of fashion pretty quickly because it's supposed to be terrible for anyone prone to asthma, because it pumps dust up into the air. I found out later that when it was built it had an extruded copper sheet roof. It must have looked amazing. I assume the roof had failed because somebody had covered it with green roofing felt. Honestly, with creosote coloured tongue and groove cladding, it genuinely looked like a big shed. A very big shed, but still a shed. The garage roof was falling in and completely rotten. You could see the old shingles, and it had just been allowed to rot. It really was in a sad state. The wiring in the new kitchen, which I suspect was ex-display, was not only not covered up as they hadn't tiled, but it was the wrong sort of cable, and you can even see wires hanging out of the ceiling where they'd taken the wall down. So structurally, and in terms of systems, it needed rewiring, replumbing, new heating, new windows, possibly even a new roof, the whole lot doing. The kitchen and dining room had been half knocked together, but half a wall had been left for no apparent reason. There was a full-sized upstairs bathroom, again no real reason given there's only one bedroom up there, and then an absolutely tiny downstairs bathroom with a child-sized bath. Now, given this was supposedly architect designed, you have to question that bathroom. Downstairs there was 1 medium bedroom and 4 single bedrooms, which all had brick-built wardrobes. Maybe in the 1960s the family had had 5 kids, but these days teenagers don't want single bedrooms, so all of that needed to change. Upstairs there was a toilet in the utility room, I kid you not, no walls, just the utility room, so I needed to find somewhere to put a proper guest toilet upstairs. It also had too many outside doors. There was one door downstairs which was really useful for access and a fire escape from the bedrooms, but upstairs there was the front door, a back door onto a dark alley down the side of the house, another back door off the kitchen, and a sliding door onto the balcony. But there was no access from the kitchen directly to what you would think of as a patio area. Instead, the kitchen door went onto the balcony as well. Outside it had a beautiful huge drive and loads of parking, but the garage clearly needed sorting out. The balcony railings were not only ugly but desperately needed some work, and it had 18-inch square concrete slabs on the balcony roof, which I strongly believe were too heavy for the structure. The lawn in front of the kitchen was like a bog in the winter, and these days, of course, we all expect a patio, especially when you have such a beautiful space for inside-outside living. It just needed sorting out and reconfiguring. But part of being a property developer is seeing the potential. In fact, a big part of it is seeing the potential. And I could see how gorgeous the bones of this house were. But it needed a lot of structural as well as cosmetic changes to bring it up to what we would consider to be a beautiful modern home in the 2020s. So, downstairs I decided to take the wall out between the stupid tiny bathroom and the boiler room to make a really nice bathroom. Take out the cupboards and the wall from the corridor space and add it to one of the bedrooms. Take out the wall between these two bedrooms to make a really nice bedroom and fit in an ensuite. And between these two rooms where there were back-to-back built-in brick wardrobes, it just took up a huge amount of space. By taking all of that out, I could make the middle bedroom into a proper double. Then upstairs, get rid of the bathroom and make it into an office. Take out the toilet. It really didn't belong in the utility room. Make it a proper utility room with lots of storage cupboards. Close off the extra back door. I can't really imagine it was ever used. And put a guest toilet in there. Take down the stub wall and the huge walk-in pantry to make it a really big open plan kitchen dining room. Put French doors out into the garden and fit an ensuite in the master bedroom. In the next video, I'll show you exactly how all of that actually happened and how I transformed this into a stunningly beautiful home.